I don't have any product sales. I don't have any injectors, like we said. I don't really have any medical spa. I have none of that. I'm a surgeon, and that's my revenue.
Hello and welcome to Beauty and the Biz, where we talk about the business and marketing side of plastic surgery. I'm your host, Catherine Maley, author of Your Aesthetic Practice, What Your Patients Are Saying, as well as consultant to surgeons to get them more patients and more profits. Now, today's special guest is Dr. Bryan Pruitt. He's a board-certified plastic surgeon in private practice in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and he's been there over 25 years. Now, Dr. Pruitt specializes in facial plastic surgery and lectures nationally as well as internationally on his innovative techniques. He's also past president of the Texas Society of Plastic Surgeons and the Dallas Society of Plastic Surgeons. So, Dr. Pruitt, welcome to Beauty and the Biz podcast. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be with you.
Oh, thank you for that. So tell me, let's just start out with, I know it's been a while, but everyone loves to hear, what was your journey to private practice? Was it a zigzag or did you go straight in?
Well, my journey to plastic surgery was a little bit of a zigzag. I grew up knowing I wanted to be a surgeon, and I worked for a heart surgeon in West Texas. One of the most amazing men and surgeons ever, who was one of my mentors. And I thought that's what I was going to do, was heart surgery. And I went off to medical school. I spent a lot of time doing heart surgery with big name Dr. DeBakey, Dr. Cooley. Went to Harvard, went to Oxford, went to lots of places doing cardiothoracic surgery, and then got a spot doing general surgery. When I finished medical school, went to general surgery at Parkland at UT Southwestern. And after a couple of years of the 5, I started thinking, this heart surgery is the same thing every day. It's veins on hearts, veins on hearts, veins on hearts, an occasional valve. And my medical school advisor had tried to talk me into plastic surgery all the time I was in medical school, and I kept being resistant. And he said, you have all these family members who are artists and you're so visual and you like to do that. Why don't you try it? So I did while I was a surgery resident and really loved it, and moved toward plastic surgery. After 5 years at Parkland, UT Southwestern, I went to Emory in Atlanta and did my plastic surgery training. I had incredible professors and mentors there, Dr. Nahai, Dr. Bostwick, Dr. Yurkewicz, Dr. Hester, Dr. Hartramp, so many amazing plastic surgeons that were all so generous with their time and with their training. And I could not have had, I don't think, better training. And then when I finished that, I went to Miami and did a facelift fellowship with Dr. Baker and Gordon and Stuzen. And when I went into practice here in Dallas, because I had trained at Emory and it was the sort of breast capital of the world at the time, I was very busy very early doing breast reconstruction, breast cancer reconstruction. And it was a time when breast implants were thought to be scary and everybody wanted tissue transfer reconstruction. And so I did hundreds of what were called micro trims at the time and other, gluteal type free flat breast reconstruction. And what I learned fairly quickly was many of those women who went through that process and came out on the other side were also exactly the same age, and they wanted a facelift. They wanted facial aesthetic surgery. And so I did more and more of those procedures, which I had done a fellowship in, and very quickly transferred into that realm. I got really tired 15 or 20 years ago of arguing with insurance companies. And as I did more and more facial surgery, I got more and more referrals, and the physicians were referring to me and the patients were as well. And so I became almost purely aesthetic probably 20 years ago.
Yeah. And then when did you move from body to face?
I really mostly did face from the beginning. I did some of breast aesthetic procedures too, but I never really was a high volume anything with regard to breast or body. I've done, as many as 3 or 4 facelifts a week, but never any sort of high volume with with breast or body. Some of those things are, I've not had an interest in that for many years. If someone's had 3 or 4 sets of breast implants and it's very complicated and they've got this many medical records, I send those to one of my eager colleagues who wants to do those cases.
It's a different patient, you know? I've also noticed with the breast reconstructive, a lot of that's very emotional. And then when they come out the other end, a lot of them are ready for a rewind. They're like ready to get their life back again.
It's very common. I think patients who have gone through that difficult process often get a clean bill of health and they want to rejuvenate, and they're at an age sometimes where they need a facelift or some sort of facial aesthetic surgery. So they're eager to do that.
Nice. So did you end up in private practice when you returned? I assume you're from Dallas. I can hear the accent. Are you from there? And
Well,
so you returned.
I'm a fourth or fifth generation Texan. I'm not from Dallas. I'm from West Texas, but I trained here at Parkland, and so I knew all of the doctors in my era at UT Southwestern. And so we moved back to Dallas to practice, and I went into private practice from the beginning.
Oh, okay. Did you get, after all of the training you got, it sounds like you got incredible surgical training. Were you also getting the business and marketing side of running a practice?
No,
Never, right? Yeah.
I never really got any training in that regard. The best experience that I got in regarding the business side, I never got anything regarding marketing. And some would argue I still don't know anything about that. But the best training I got on the business side of things really was the aesthetic fellowship in Miami with Dr. Baker and Dr. Stuzen. The way their office worked, the way they handled patients, the way that they took such good care of their patients and a personal interest in each case, I think was very, very helpful, very useful to me, and helped me bridge from the academic world to private practice.
But so you must have, if you went private, you must have gone for insurance first just to stay alive, right?
Oh, when I went into practice, I got privileges at every hospital in Dallas and Fort Worth, and I was up at midnight and 2 and 3 and 4 in the morning sewing up every laceration, every facial fracture. There was nothing out there that I would not do, and I was well trained to do it. So, I mean, I went down to late in the evening where the head and neck surgeons down at Baylor University Medical Center, a 1,000-bed hospital, had just taken someone's esophagus out, and they wanted a reconstruction with a free flap microjejunal, reconstruction from their throat down. So, I mean, I would do that night or day, anytime, anywhere to try to pay the bills and take care of my family. And but that fortunately didn't last long, because within a year or 2 or 3, I was doing a lot of breast reconstruction, microvascular breast reconstruction. And then really, even from the first year, I did several facelifts the first year on that same age patient.
It looks like you're still in like kind of some kind of a medical complex. What's your situation with your office?
I'm in a private practice and have been. The building that I'm in are individually owned medical condominiums, basically. So each doctor or dentist owns their own space, and I have since really uh, very early on. After about 2 or 3 years, I bought a space. Dr. Jack Gunter was a very famous
Hmm.
rhinoplasty surgeon,
Of course.
and he was in the same building. And I was renting a space upstairs, and I was covering his call. He was busy going to meetings and presenting all over the place, and he often was every other week was asking me to cover his patients or cover his call. And so I did. And then 2 or 3 or 4 years into the process, he called me down one day and said, "Hey, come down here and talk to me." He said, "Would you like to buy this office space? I'm thinking about winding down." And I said, "Sure." So I bought his office, and it's been great.
That's really interesting because you have the pleasure of having your own autonomy. You have your own place. I assume
Yes,
you can renovate as much as you want.
yes,
You call the shots. You still have
yes.
a landlord though, so I don't know, is that good or bad, or is it fairly flexible? Like, were you able to sell your other condo to move into this condo?
Yes, Yes, I was leasing the one upstairs. When I went down and bought Jack's, um, then now I own it, and I've owned it since the 1990s, but a long time. There's a condominium association board, like there are a lot of these, and you just uh, have to fulfill whatever the requirements are to renovate. There's parameters that you have to stay within, and then there's still a common monthly cost because the janitorial services and
Right.
the parking lot and the common spaces are all common.
I know sometimes you run into issues with if you want to do in-house surgery, you can only have so many recovery centers, and then it becomes a hotel or something, or like whatever that's all about. Do you have that issue? Can you do surgery in-house, or are you
Yes, we have a Quad A certified operating room facility,
nice?
and we don't have a hotel sort of situation. We're not as bad as some states that have some of those
Yeah.
rules. We keep patients in a hotel, typically a hotel overnight, with a caregiver or nurse, if we're doing a facelift, for instance.
Gotcha. How about providers? I've been on your website. It looks like you have a it's just you. Are you the revenue
I only
generator?
have one. Yes, I'm it.
And no injectors.
No, I have
I
no
saw that and I
injectors.
thought, oh wow, that's unusual. Because nowadays you're trying to get that patient wherever they are, and you develop the relationship early and then they stay. Or in your case, you have a different philosophy. You just when you're ready for surgery, call me kind of thing.
That's right. I, I don't know if it's a philosophy or it is just the way that it's worked out. But I have a unusual practice by today's standards in that it's just a solo practice. I don't have any extenders. I don't have PAs or injectors or anything. I'm perhaps overly risk averse, and I don't have anybody injecting anything but me.
So if you go on vacation, you go on safari for 3 weeks, what happens? Does everyone go home?
No, they don't go home. They prepare and pre-op all of the coming surgery, and they follow up with those who need follow-up, and they, you know, clean and sharpen instruments, and they do 100 other things that they're waiting to do till the next time I go out of town.
So I take it it's a small team. Yeah.
It's a small team. I have about four employees and then some part-time people, but it's a very small team. That's right. I'm single revenue basically. I'm a surgeon. That's what I'm very good at, and that's what I do professionally. I don't have any product sales. I don't have any injectors, like we said. I don't really have any medical spa. I have none of that. I'm a surgeon, and that's my revenue.
Everything has a pro and con to it. Do you know if it's hurt you or helped you? Do you have any idea?
I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
in what regard. I mean, certainly I see people with big empires and 80 people on their staff, and I've never really aspired to that. What I do has provided very well for me and my family, so I have not really pushed beyond that.
I would say, just watching what's happening in the world today, a lot of the surgeons say to me, if I could just go back to having my wife, the front desk, and a surgical assist, I'd be happy. It's not always what it's cracked up to be when you get that into that ego. I want to grow, 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 and bring on more people. All that complexity you're stuck with, and now you've got to learn to manage people and lead them and be the visionary. And ay, ay, ay. It's a lot. So I would just say whatever works for you, you know?
Kudos to the people who do it well, and I know
Yeah.
that they're building big revenues. I really wasn't trained in sort of business. I don't have an MBA. I'm not a part of 10 different entities. All of that. I'm trained very well to be a surgeon, and I feel like I'm very good at that. And so that's what I do well because I know it well, and I haven't really pushed beyond that.
Hello there. Quick pause to ask you if you have gaps in your practice draining your time, profits, and peace of mind. If so, I can help you streamline, grow, and take the guesswork out of your practice. Book your practice growth strategy review at catherinemaley.com, and let's turn those gaps into growth. Now, back to the podcast. I would just one question. Do you know your numbers? Because when you're set up in this kind of a situation, oftentimes as a surgeon, you want to hands off the business part. You don't like it. You don't care. You just want to know what the bottom line is and are we making any money? Those situations can often go sideways. Have you had any issues there
Fortunately, I have not, and
that you know of?
I do know my numbers very well, and
Good.
I do have a lean operation, and I do very well. I'm very pleased.
Nice. What would you say is the biggest challenge you've had running your own deal?
I think the biggest challenge always has been personnel.
Yeah,
It's been staff. I hear every other plastic surgeon say the same thing. I mean, the
always.
variable in all practice situations of all specialties is the people, the personnel that you're dealing with, and the what all's going on in their lives, and how stable, how persistent are they, how reliable are they, even after training, how well does the training stick? All of those sorts of things, I think, have been the challenge. I've been very blessed because I've got two very long-term employees, one that's been with me 25 years and one 18 years, and they're superb. I have a nurse that's sort of the head nurse and director of the OR, and then I've got a front office, concierge manager. She's superb. And then I've got another nurse that's been with me less time, more recently, but I feel very blessed. I have good people, and they take very good care of people. The experience, I think, is excellent.
Any tips on how to hire and then retain good staff?
I wish I had some good pointers for that. I've made mistakes. I've hired dozens of people over the years that I could not keep. They did not work out. Um, for all sorts of reasons. And I feel like I just didn't know enough about the situation. And oftentimes somebody looks good on paper or they even interview well, but within the first 6 months, this is not going to be a long-term relationship because they don't treat my patients well. Most of all, I want them to be reliable and treat my patients well. And, all the other usual things, honesty, reliability, all of those things.
I think the biggest thing is the surgeon himself. Is he a good leader or a good role model? And has he set expectations? A lot of the surgeons assume a lot, assume that they would take good care of patients. The best surgeons I have seen, and in Dallas is also because it's so darn competitive, they like meet with that staff regularly and they keep telling them, we are premier. We're here to help this patient no matter what. We don't say no. We don't keep them waiting. We take care of patients, I think you have to keep reminding the staff because they can go sideways and they're trying to represent you. And you think that's not how I want to be represented. So it's just repetition and accountability for sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
I have not been the best about those things. You're right. I have
Yeah.
not had enough staff meetings. I have not had enough repetition in those areas. Um, but somehow
Well, the
we,
problem is you have those two key people who are A players and they are softening all of this. Like they're handling that for you. Just never lose them,
that's right.
hang on to them
Exactly right.
forever. Yeah.
Exactly right.
Yeah, because they're a good buffer for you. Because the surgeon, how are you supposed to do all of this? But it's become quite multifaceted, to be a surgeon in today's world.
Yeah.
But boy, if you can hang on to the A players who have your back and you trust and they love you and represent you well, what else can you ask for?
These team members are superb. And again,
Mm,
I feel very blessed to have them.
yeah. So any exit strategy, we talk a lot about that, private equity on this podcast. There's been lots of stories, good and bad. Any interest, any plans?
I wish that I had, excellent business acumen and I could tell you what my exit strategy is. I really don't have one. I hope to operate another 10 years. I hope that, that becomes more apparent going forward. I've had friends who did private equity and it was an absolute disaster and they're, hundreds of thousands of dollars down in their lawsuits right now. I also have friends who, um, you know, added a partner and then equity and then wound up with big, ugly, bloody divorces. So I don't know. As risk averse as I am, I just don't have a plan at this moment.
Yeah. There is no one answer, seriously. Gosh, but I have heard it all. If you listen to this podcast, you'll hear the nightmare stories, and then you'll hear a couple good ones where they were really happy with it because they knew they weren't going to be able to do this on their own forever. Like they were like, do you walk away? Do you just like, I mean, one guy said, I'm just going to put the keys on the desk and leave when I'm ready. I don't care. I just enjoy my peace and quiet. All you have to do is bring on one associate when it goes sideways and say, I'm never doing that again. So frankly, there is no exit. I'm just going to leave, maybe not.
Well, and I've
Oh,
never done that. People have always asked me, why don't you bring on a partner or an associate or
yeah.
whatever? And I just can't think of a good reason to do it. I keep thinking, for what purpose would I do that? I have people that cover my call. We cover
Mhm.
each other's call. There's other people in Dallas that are excellent surgeons that are my peers that cover my call when I'm out of town, and I cover theirs. I have the camaraderie that I need from these colleagues. I think that we are not elbowing each other in a competitive way. I think we feel very much like we hope that everyone else succeeds and we want everybody to be better. I've always felt that the people around Dallas, if they're real plastic surgeons and they're really well trained, I hope that they do well because really one bad result or one terrible problem keeps 100 people from having a facelift. So,
Mm.
or any other aesthetic surgical procedure. So I'm cheering for them. I want people to go to real, well trained surgeons so that they have the best chance of getting an excellent result. But I really think that the market for aesthetic surgery is unlimited.
Right.
It's absolutely unlimited. There's nobody walking down the street out there that if you stopped them and said, "Is there one thing about yourself that you'd like to change to make it look
Mm.
better?" I mean, everybody is in that world. So I think it's an unlimited market. The problem is that there are shows on TV where people have, bad problems from plastic surgery, and people assume that that's going to be them when in fact that may be 1 in 10,000. So in general, I don't feel a big competitive issue in Dallas. There are some excellent surgeons. I'm pleased to be in this environment. I feel like we get along really very, very well and help each other as much as possible. Somebody comes to me complaining about another surgeon in Dallas. If it's a real plastic surgeon, I try to send them back. Say, go talk to them. I'm sure they want to make you happy. Not everybody gets perfect results. I certainly have had my share of problems.
Yeah.
Anybody who's a busy surgeon is going to have problems or complications at times, no matter what. And if they don't admit that they ever have problems or complications, then that's not genuine. That's not authentic.
For sure. Regarding marketing and how you differentiate yourself, I just got back from New York. I did a branding talk, and you were doing one of my strategies. One of my strategies is make differentiate yourself from everyone else by doing something different. And you have the Pruitt facelift. And I always say, have a signature procedure and make a big deal out of it. And it's different than everyone else's. You charge more for it. You can do less of them and make more money. So how did you come up with that? I thought I was a genius, and you've been doing it probably forever.
No, you probably are a genius, and it was accidental because
Mm.
patients come in saying, "Well, I want to." My mother told me I should come get a Pruitt facelift, or my neighbor, or my sister, and so my staff started calling it that. And really, what that is kind of an algorithm of what facial procedures you might be a candidate for. It's not an actual technique or something that's, anatomical, because we would use any of a number of techniques to try to give that patient the very best result. So believe me, marketing and branding are I'm the last one to the party. I'm probably the last plastic surgeon in America that got a website. That website is like 2 years old or 3 years old. Before that, I didn't have one. To this day, I still don't have any social media. I don't have a Facebook page or anything personally or with my practice. And I should have, probably. I'm late to the party for sure. But that's where I am. I was, because of the era I came up in, I was not sort of comfortable in the social media world or really online world. And all of my patients, even to this day, have come from physician referrals and or patient referrals, word of mouth. So, I did a face and neck lift today on another surgeon, and her husband's a neurosurgeon, and he refers me patients. And then second patient I did today was another doctor's wife. So I've been very fortunate. It's been a privilege to operate on a number of my colleagues. I've done facelifts on a number of plastic surgeons in Dallas and some of their wives, and they're kind enough in many cases to send me facial surgery when they want to do breast dogs or they want to do tummies or lipo. They will send those to me. So I did 2 of
How
those
much
today.
percentage wise of referrals? How many are when all the leads you get? How many are word of mouth referrals from anybody? Word of mouth referrals. Like, would you say you have a 90% word of mouth practice like that
Versus what?
versus half and half? A lot of surgeons will say to me, "Oh, it's half word of mouth, and the other half is, all the games you have to play, real self and Google paid leads and social media."
I would say it's 98-2, maybe,
Oh,
or
okay.
98-2. Yeah, it's probably that.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Wow.
thought you were trying to differentiate between physician referrals and patient referrals, but
Well, let's do that too. What would that difference be?
I would say that used to be 75% physician referrals, 20% or 25% patient, and now that's reversed. There are fewer and fewer doctor
Interesting.
referrals, maybe 20% doctor referrals, maybe 75% patient referrals. Now that I've been in practice a long time and have a track history, but without any before and after pictures online, which I have none, and
I
without
saw
any
that and I couldn't believe it. I said,
without
"What do you
any
mean there's
social
no photos?"
yeah without any social media, um I don't I don't generate a lot of Google referrals or website referrals or anything. To get to my website, you pretty much have to put my name in, and it's not going to come up, I don't think, from most other searches.
Even when I put your name in, because I was looking for your Instagram, I got like a consultant from Australia. You'll know who he is. His Instagram came up that said, "I just
Oh,
visited Dr. Pruitt." And I said,
oh, okay.
he seriously does not have an Instagram account. I have never seen that before. And he doesn't have photos. I've never seen that. I haven't seen that in 20 years. And I thought, okay, he is like, is that your branding to be totally exclusive and you have to know somebody?
I wish I was that clever, but no, that's just the way it's worked out. I,
Wow. And it hasn't hurt you at all.
I don't know if it has. It may have. I mean, I should have. I really think I should have made some transition to social media. I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, maybe, about when I put my website up. I told my staff kept pushing me to put up a website, and they said it would just keep people from calling us, asking where the office is and who to contact. And so eventually, when I talked to the website people, they said, "What type do you want? You want to buy Google ads or all these things?" I said, "Really, I want a confirmatory website." People have been given my name by their dermatologist or by
Mhm.
their gynecologist or someone
Mhm.
typically, and they're just putting my name in to find me. And I want to just confirm that, yes, I'm alive and I have a busy practice. And so that's kind of what they did is just put that confirmatory website together. I need to do the same sort of thing probably with social media to have a confirmatory Instagram or Facebook page, but I haven't done that yet.
Well, you know what I would do? If you wanted my 2 cents, if you can live without Instagram, please do because it's a real time suck. I mean, it takes some creativity and technology and interest in doing that. And you can, if it's not your thing, I wouldn't start now probably, but I would definitely rethink the before and after photos. We patients, there are two things we love. One thing you're doing very well, that's the reviews. And the other thing we like are the photos. So I would say look at the photos and how did you get 400 reviews? You're focused on that, and that's why you're getting SEO probably.
Well, my staff told me yesterday we have 600 and something reviews. I don't know if
Oh
that's
my
true,
God.
but I asked the patients. We only started doing that probably, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 years ago. But I asked the patients, would you mind giving me a review?
Hmm.
And they usually will say yes. And then whether they actually do it or not, I don't
Right.
know. But
Right.
they enough of them have that it's been helpful.
Do you have many out of towners?
We do. We see patients every year from different places. Almost all facial aesthetic surgery. I mean, so far this year, I've operated on a plastic surgeon from Wisconsin. I've operated on a cardiologist from Oregon, and they usually have some connection to someone.
Right.
Their sister. I've done their sister's facelift, or they went to medical school. Their roommate has been to me for a facelift or something, but they usually have some connection.
Well, the trend has been we always counted on the website to do it, and you worked on your SEO to make it organic. And then Google tightened that up, and Google only wants to show Dallas people, Dallas surgeons. So that's how so many people, and the things with going on with AI, so many surgeons said, I can't win the SEO game anymore because everything's gone to pay per click. Like Google's not going to show you anymore unless you pay for it. But then they went to social media because they wanted a bigger audience. So that's why that has become so important. But honestly, if you can live without it, if you don't have to do this game and you can live off of what you've been doing, your life's so much easier. My God. Yeah.
Well, again, I'm not saying this is the right way to do it. I'm just saying this has worked for me so far.
Yeah. I'll keep at it then. And listen, we're getting winding down to the end. Give me a patient, like a crazy patient or staff story you care to share.
Well, my nurse, while we were operating today, I asked about that. My nurse said, you ought to tell them about, we did an 85-year-old woman who came in for a facelift, neck lift, first time.
I love that.
And I said, well, I don't know. We would have to get your doctor, your primary care doctor to check you out. And I really thought they would say no chance. She said during the initial consult, first consult, she said, I thought you would say that. So she reached in her bag and she pulls out a letter from her cardiologist and said, she ran on the treadmill for 45 minutes in my office with EKG and
Wow.
stress test, and she's had an echo. She's in perfectly good health, and she's going to live 20 more years. And she said, so if I live 20 more years, I don't want to live it with a turkey neck and jowls. So I want this facelift. So we did. We I said, you didn't forge this letter. She said, no, calling me. But we went ahead with the surgery. She did very well. My nurse had laughed about her because when she came in for a follow-up about a month later wearing black leather pants and driving her convertible. So
Exactly.
it's not the years, it's the miles. And this lady was in great shape. She was so funny, so engaged and energetic, and really kind of an inspiration.
I have been fascinated with human behavior. I happen to have an MBA. If I had to do it again, I would do psychology because trying to understand people in this crazy world is really helpful. Just to understand where they're coming from. You know that saying, vanity knows no bounds? It is so true. Like here she is, 85 years old. Wouldn't you think at that point, who cares? If you don't care, then you probably die, So good for her. I can't believe she waited that long because I'm thinking, how many facelifts can you have in a lifetime? And she just wanted one big one at the end.
That's right. She waited a long time. She said she was the envy of her bridge club at the Dallas Country Club. So I said, great, good for you.
By the way, also with a branding strategy, those kind of stories go a really long way. I'm just saying, if you just happen to interview her and there was an iPad around, what a great patient story and her journey to get to 85 and then her mindset. I'm not done yet, and for her to transform like that, and now she's wearing leather pants. Oh my God, that's a great story. I love that. No.
Yeah.
All right. And the last question, tell us something else we don't know about you.
Well, I mean, as far as unusual is concerned, my wife and I have 5 children.
Mhm.
The greatest blessing in my life is my wife and
Uh,
my amazing 5 children. No question about it. My wife was an ICU nurse and research nurse at Parkland when I met her, and we've been married 30 plus years. Anyway, she's amazing, and my 5 kids are amazing. Anyway, she decided, despite the fact that we live in one of the best school districts in the country in Highland Park, she decided she wanted to homeschool these kids when my
okay.
oldest was in the first grade at a private school. And I wasn't sure about this, but she did it. And I think it's probably a misnomer to say homeschool because they were never home. But what it really is parent directed education. So we got to decide everything. And
Yeah.
we wind up hiring tutors for each kid, for each subject that we
Wow.
wanted to do. So at a certain point, we hired AP calculus teachers, we hired AP biology teachers and whatever as they went through. And then as soon as they're 14 or 15 and they qualify to go to the local junior college, she would start sending them over there for their chemistry and physics and whatever else. Anyway, all 5 did amazingly well. 2 of the 5 are National Merit Scholars. They all got full scholarships to college. They've all
Oh,
done medical school, dental school, something. And my youngest is now finishing her second year of dental school right now. But anyway, my wife did a remarkable job throughout that process. And it's a little bit unusual. So maybe that's an unusual story.
that's unusual. Do you think any of the kids are going to follow in your footsteps?
No, I don't
Isn't
think
that
so.
crazy? Oh,
Well, my younger son is finishing dental school next week, and he's first in his class. He's matched in a oral maxillofacial surgery residency at Parkland,
mm,
so he's got a long way to go in that surgery training. But as far as plastic surgery is concerned, none of them really wanted to do that. They honestly said, a couple of them said, "Dad, you work too hard." Our
right?
friends who our friends whose dads are dentists work 3 days a
Yeah.
week, and they play golf
Yep.
one day, and they go to the lake for a long weekend, and you work too hard, and so they decided to do dental school. 3 out of 5. So
Wow. All right. Well, that could have been a good exit strategy. If one of them would have trailed behind, that would have been
you would
good.
have
But
thought, yeah,
yeah. Okay. Well, we're going to wrap it up now. If anybody did want to get a hold of you, I know your website is just what you say, your name, Dr. Pruitt,
yeah, drpruitt.com. Yeah,
Pruitt. Yeah.
yes,
All right.
drpruitt.com.
Yeah, but don't go to Instagram looking for him. Just just go to Google. Thank you
That's a
so much, Dr. Pruitt. I really appreciate it. I hopefully will meet you someday at a conference. And everybody, that's going to wrap it up for us today. If you would so kindly subscribe to Beauty in the Biz and give me a review so we can grow our audience, that'd be terrific. And then if you've got any questions or feedback for me, please leave them on my website at Catherine Maley MBA, or you can certainly DM me on Instagram at Catherine Maley MBA. Thanks so much, and we'll talk again soon.
The fastest way to success is to model other successful surgeons who have what you want, but you can only see their results, not the path they took to get there. So you continue to jump from one thing to another, hoping to find something that will work for you too. But it rarely does. So try this shortcut instead. It's guaranteed to move you forward. I compiled my intellectual property to grow cosmetic revenues, everything I've gleaned over the years, into one playbook of the most successful practices and what they do to win. Go to cosmeticpracticevault.com and let's grow your cosmetic revenues.